Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I first want to thank Open Publishing Fest for having us today, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining us to discuss Quire, Getty's open source digital publishing tool. My name is Erin Cecile Dunnigan, and I am based in Los Angeles, California. I work for the J. Paul Getty Trust, an internationally renowned arts and cultural heritage institution. The trust includes 2 museums, a conservation institute, a research institute, and a charitable foundation. Within the trust, I work in the publications department as the community manager for Quire. My goals for this session are to explain what Quire is, how it works, introduce you to our community of users, and then show you some examples of Quire publications. Okay, so what exactly is Quire? Well, Quire is a digital publishing tool designed for producing scholarly, visually rich publications in a variety of formats. It was developed by Getty, who has over 60 years of experience producing award-winning books and journals. Quire projects can be made open access, helping spread knowledge more widely while eliminating economic barriers. Quire is also available for other individuals and institutions to use free of charge. We are currently following open source standards with our full OS release planned for spring 2022. And we have a vibrant community of users, both technical and non-technical, who help one another and inspire one another and are all constantly contributing to Quire's success. Development of Quire began in 2016, which is about when this fantastic picture of my colleagues were taken. Here they're holding up an early Quire prototype. At that time, online publications were firmly establishing themselves as a vital part of the scholarly publishing ecosystem, an essential way to share research and knowledge more widely. At Getty, we were well positioned to use our expertise in the field of publishing and our commitment to being a digital-first institution to advance this effort. Our first step was to identify 4 significant challenges inherent to digital publishing. The first is sustaining digital publishing. So great, you get your digital publishing program up and running at your institution, but now what? What's the long-term maintenance plan? How do you deal with the potential for technology to go obsolete? You know, what's the plan here? The next is preserving online catalogs for the public. So how can digital catalogs last beyond the lifespan of a website? You know, books can last a lifetime, but websites often break within a few years and you get that awful 404 page not found error message. But, you know, is that unavoidable? That's really the question. Next is finding the catalog. So a digital catalog will get some great attention when it's first published. Maybe it's featured on the website homepage. Maybe there's a press release pointing people to it. But then what? Where does it live and how do people find it? There is a tried and true distribution model for print publishing, but not so much for the digital. And finally, reader confusion about catalog boundaries. Where does an online catalog begin and end? And how does a reader know where they are or when they are in an online catalog versus just an extension of a pre-existing website? So Quire was designed specifically to address these challenges. Quire is optimized to create enduring, discoverable, book-like digital publishing projects in a sustainable way. So now I'm going to take a deeper dive into how we're able to achieve this through things like multi-format output, a book-like user interface, and plain text files, as well as static site generation. I cannot emphasize enough how important of a role static site generation plays in Quire's success. Quire is built with a static site generator called Hugo. This is used to create the online version of a Quire project, which is the primary version. In traditional website publishing, a content management system is connected to collection and image databases and set up on a server. In static site publishing, on the other hand, the CMS is just software and a folder of files on your computer. and that's what's used to build the site. So this keeps the complexity of site building at the point of publication. And that means you don't need a complicated server that needs to be continually maintained. In addition to using a static site generator, Quire also follows open source development standards and does not require proprietary software to function. That is, however, with one exception, and that is our PDF generator, which is something we are currently looking to replace with another open source tool. Either way, that caveat aside, Quire manages to avoid the pitfalls of many other digital publishing tools, where if that platform ceases to exist, well then so might the publications it was used to create. Static site generation also allows users to keep their content in a single set of human-readable plain text files, which you can see an example of here. By human-readable, we mean that the information can literally be read by humans, as opposed to a machine-readable format like binary data. Plain text files exist independently of a specific file format and therefore don't require a special program to open and access them. So unlike websites that might have a short lifespan, even if certain technology goes obsolete, Quire files will continue to be readable and accessible for future technology. Static site generation also enables the conversion of plain text content into other formats. A saying we like to use is create once and publish everywhere. Multi-format output is one of Quire's most important and unique features, and it really sets us apart from other digital publishing tools. No one else is really doing anything like this. As I mentioned, the online site is the primary site, but you can also generate a PDF, which can then be downloaded or converted into a print-on-demand publication. And we can also do ebooks in the EPUB or MOBI format. Having multiple formats increases publication longevity by creating fallbacks. So for example, if that website version does eventually break, well, no worries, you have the print publication as a fallback. Being able to output in multiple formats is also what helps make Quire publications more discoverable. Quire books are widely available in all the places you can normally find books. So Amazon, Apple iBooks, Barnes & Noble, Library of Congress, etc. Oops, wasn't done. And all formats can include open access content through the addition of Creative Commons licenses. This increases publication accessibility and enables valuable research to be shared more widely. The website version of Quire publications have a really clean and modern user interface with clear boundaries and visual cues indicating when readers are inside of and outside of the publication. And because Quire is designed for multiple formats, the website version of a Quire project is designed to follow a very traditional book-like structure. So online publications have things like linear navigation as if you're turning pages. There's also an automatically generated table of contents, which you can see here. You have the ability to include front matter like a foreword or acknowledgements. You can even include an about page, which you can see here on this table of contents, and that functions a bit like a colophon. And you can include ISBN and ISSN information. While it's not limited to academic content, Quire was specifically developed with a built-in understanding of high-quality scholarly publishing and best practices. The website version takes advantage of the digital format to enhance some of these elements. For example, pop-up citations, an automatically formatted bibliography with linkable footnotes, page-level citations. These are all things that are baked into Quire's core code. Scholars have also indicated that version control and having a transparent revision history are important factors for the authoritativeness of digital catalogs. So those features have also been incorporated into Quire. Okay, let's take a look at some of Quire's other important features. So you can include high resolution images, either single images or image groups in a Quire project. And we recently added the ability to include deep zooming images through AAAF. So this is a new feature that really enables an exceptional level of detail. You can also embed audio and video clips that are compatible with YouTube, Vimeo, and SoundCloud. And we have the ability to insert interactive maps that are zoomable. So these elements really help bring the content of Quire publications to life for the reader. There's also the ability to do a full text search, which is a really useful tool for researchers. Coming soon on our roadmap, we will have 360-degree rotating images, deep linking images with annotations, accordion sections, a catalog filter, all really useful features for our readers, and we're really excited to start integrating these. Now, because Quire is designed for output in multiple formats, whenever we're developing new features, we really have to take all format types into consideration. So for example, when an online publication has a video that's embedded in it, well, that's not going to work in the print publication. So we have static images as a fallback. So we're always having to think about the different formats whenever we're developing new features. Quire is also highly customizable. You can use it out of the box, so to speak, or you can adapt it to your unique content. Customizations can be as simple as changing the cover image and accent color, which I have done here. Or for the more technically inclined, you can also incorporate custom CSS to modify existing Quire elements, write new templates for custom layouts, and add functionality with custom shortcodes. Okay, now you might be asking yourself, well, how does Quire actually work? What is it like to work in it? Quire operates as a framework that chains together a number of existing programs, which together add new functionality. When you install Quire, you install a command line interface, or CLI, and I'll get to more on that in a bit. But you also install Hugo, the static site generator, and Webpack. Additional programs that need to be installed separately and run alongside Quire include node.js. This enables you to run the Quire CLI, which is written in JavaScript, and it also enables you to build the theme. Pandoc is used for EPUB files, and Kindle Previewer is used to create the Mobi files. And then finally, Prince XML will help you create the PDF version of your Quire project. It's important to understand that there is no real graphic user interface for Quire. Instead, the user is given a unique look into the inner workings of their publication. The three most important components of working in Quire are the text editor, the command line shell, and the web browser. A text editor is a program used to edit the single set of plain text files that make up the entirety of your Quire project. You can almost think of it as an alternative to Microsoft Word. All computers come with a basic text editor already installed, but we recommend free and more heavily featured ones like Atom, which is what we use at Getty, or Visual Studio Code. Quire uses two different plain text formats to store content. The first is Markdown. This is a way of formatting your text to add structure and style in a way that can be easily transferred to HTML. You're not adding code, just special characters. For example, 2 asterisks on either side of a word will result in that word being bolded in your web browser. We recommend Pandoc as a really great tool for converting your Word documents into Markdown, and that can save you a ton of time. The second is YAML, which is a way of capturing important data. When we say data, we mean content that exists in multiple places, so that if it's updated in one place, it will update everywhere. For example, changing the title of an essay, within that essay's page will also update the title in the table of contents. One other important component of working in your text editor with Quire are shortcodes. A shortcode is a snippet of code that's inserted into your Markdown file, and it pulls in YAML data that is located in other parts of your project. In Quire, shortcodes are used to configure figure images, citations, bibliographies, and contributor info. While this may sound complicated, once you understand the basic formatting, really Quire does all the work for you. Every computer has a built-in command line shell, which you can see pictured on the screen here. On Macs, it's called the terminal, and on PCs, it's called the Windows PowerShell. The shell is a text-based way of viewing and navigating your computer's file contents and running other programs. For example, you can run commands like cd and ls to change directory and list the contents of that directory. And by directory, by the way, we just mean, folders on your computer. Now, when you install Quire, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, you install the command line interface, or CLI. And this is a program that tells Quire what to do. It can be used to start new Quire projects, run commands like Quire PDF, which will automatically generate the PDF version of your project, or you can run a command like Quire Preview. Once you have added and formatted your Markdown and YAML content, you can run the command Quire Preview to view your project in your web browser. This is a great opportunity to double check your work, make sure everything looks good, nothing's broken before outputting and deploying your project. On the left is the Markdown version of your publication, for example, and on the right is how it would appear rendered in HTML in your browser. At Getty, we use GitHub to host the code for our various Quire projects. We also use GitHub Desktop as a tool for project management and collaboration. Quire users don't have to use GitHub, but it is something we recommend for various reasons. GitHub is a secure platform for hosting your project's code and creating an electronic backup of your work. It also saves the entire version history of your project, including deleted files. This will enable you to track changes, revert changes, restore earlier versions, etc. So you never need to panic when using GitHub because essentially nothing's irreversible. You can also use GitHub to create test versions of your project and experiment with new ideas before officially incorporating them. And finally, GitHub makes working with collaborators easy. You and your colleagues can work in different, essentially parallel versions of your project, review and comment on one another's work, and consolidate any approved changes into the master version of your project. Now, we also use GitHub to store the code for Quire itself, and we have 2 repositories. The main Quire repo includes the Quire CLI, as well as default starter content, which acts as a placeholder whenever you start up a new project, as well as the default theme, which covers a broad range of use cases. This repo also has our discussions forum for the community and an issue tracker. Our other repository is for our website and documentation, which, fun fact, are actually built using Quire. Now that you have an understanding of what Quire is and how it works, let's shift gears a little bit to talk about my favorite thing, which is the Quire community. The Quire community starts first and foremost with Getty. So far, Quire has been used to create 10 publications at Getty, with another 18 or so in the pipeline. At Getty, we use Quire primarily for collection catalogs and conference proceedings. This is partly in response to shrinking markets. So for example, libraries have smaller budgets and might order less, or bookstores, maybe don't have enough room, so collection catalogs aren't ordered as frequently. Quire helps give these books a platform. They're done in all formats, the ebook, the website, and print. So the print runs might be small, but Quire really has become an important solution in making this critical digital scholarship available more widely. And Quire has demonstrated so much success for Getty over the past few years that we've really seen steadily growing interest from other individuals and institutions in the arts, academia, and digital humanities fields. They're attracted to the types of solutions Quire provides, the built-in scholarly publishing best practices, multi-format output capabilities, and the stable content through static site generation. For these reasons, and to ensure the longevity and ongoing use of Quire, Getty is moving it towards a community-supported model. As I mentioned at the start of this talk, we are planning to release Quire as a fully open source tool in spring 2022. At the moment, we are currently following open source development standards, but it'll be more official. So as part of the process of open sourcing Quire, we enabled beta access in 2018, and we have since had over 300 people sign up to use it. This includes scholars, students, curators, editors, designers, web developers, and even the plain old digitally curious. These users can leverage the work Getty has done to create, customize, and distribute their publishing projects. We just ask that they don't redistribute Quire itself. In return, we look to this growing community of users to meaningfully contribute to Quire's growth and health as a publishing tool. And here you can see members of our community who, in the true open source sense, have contributed content and/or code to our two repositories. As we continue to develop and refine Quire's capabilities, there are a number of ways we encourage our community to get involved. For example, contributing code, organizing events, answering questions on our forum, submitting bugs, translating our docs. There are a number of really great ways to, big or small, to get involved. And we welcome users of all levels of technical experience, from content creators to developers. We provide the tools and resources and support from both Getty staff and the community to really ensure everyone feels confident both using Quire and contributing to it. In addition to the helpful resources included on our website, we also have a newsletter that goes out monthly, and we have a discussions forum where the community members can ask and answer questions, introduce themselves, share their work, and give feedback. Some of the organizations and institutions publishing with Quire include the Hong Kong University Museum and Art Gallery, Northwestern University Libraries, Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, just to name a few. This graphic doesn't even cover all of them. So far, we've seen over 30 publications produced by our community, and these can all be found on our website's community showcase. Quire has been used to publish everything from collection and exhibition catalogs to journals, proceedings volumes, reports, online exhibitions, and even in one instance, a personal family history. Okay, now I'd like to walk you through some examples of Quire publications that I think really demonstrate what Quire can do and the value it can bring. The first is High Point Editions from Minneapolis Institute of Art. This is the first Catalogue Raisonné to be developed using Quire. It features more than 300 works by 39 artists, as well as scholarly essays, artist bios, and a detailed glossary. Now, Minneapolis Institute of Art did some extra development work and was actually able to map collections data from their digital asset management system into Quire, which is quite the accomplishment and something we were really excited to see, come to fruition. Minneapolis Institute of Art was drawn to the book-like structure of Quire and the user experience. Their hope is that this publication will act as a digital doorway to their archive. Next, we have Materia, a journal of technical art history. So Materia used Quire to create their inaugural journal issue, and they have their second issue currently in the works and coming out soon. Materia chose Quire because its open access nature offered the ability to provide free technical art history content to a global audience. It also helped them obtain an ISSN for library distribution thanks to Quire's multi-format output capabilities. The staff and faculty at the Wired Lab at Duke University used Quire to create their first Born Digital report. They took advantage of Quire's multimedia capabilities and embedded several video clips, which you can see an example of here. According to the team at Duke, the lab's members are committed to using sustainable methods for digital publishing while also exploring experimental platforms, which is why they chose to work with Quire. And finally, we have from Getty Publications, French Rococo. This is Getty's 5th collection catalog to be built with Quire, and it was actually published in March of this year. It's the first catalog of Getty's decorative arts holdings to be published online, and it's also the first Quire catalog to include deep zooming images with AAAF. So that is just great to get really close up to some of these details. The website and ebook version are available for free, and the print-on-demand version is available in the Getty store and Amazon, among other retailers. So that's how we, structure things in terms of distribution at the Getty. So that's it. Oops. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this quick tour of Quire. While it started as a solution to Getty's own digital publishing needs, it's really grown into so much more. And thanks to our commitment to being a sustainable, enduring, book-like, and discoverable publishing tool, our hope and the hope of our community is to see Quire become an institutional standard for the digital humanities.